Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is my introduction to Autodesk Inventor. Um, as I mentioned the other day, there's three pieces of software that we're going to use for the remainder of the course. One of them is Autodesk Inventor. So when you go back to your computers, which I'll ask you to in a couple of minutes, you can go down to the Start button here, and you can type in Inventor. And you're looking for Autodesk Inventor Professional. This is 2019. There should be a 2021 version on your computers. Alternatively, you might find the desktop icon. Now, my icon is right here, so if you double click on it, it should launch Inventor. When you launch Inventor, if it asks you for a license, there's going to be two options. One of them is going to say standalone license. The other one is going to say network license. Pick network license and walk through the information that it asks, okay? It shouldn't ask you to log in. It shouldn't ask you to do any of that. It should just ask for a network license. If you click on the network license, it should start up. If you have issues, please come and get me. Once it starts, you're going to get a screen that looks similar to this. I don't actually use any of the information on this screen. What I'm going to ask you to do, and I'm going to highlight my cursor so you can follow along here, okay? What I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to go up to New, or you can go to File, New, and you want to do, and just click New here. It'll take a second, and this screen will pop up. Where it says templates up here in the right-hand side, make sure it says English US. If it doesn't say English US, you can click here and you can change it, okay? Actually, sorry, my mistake, not English US, we want metric, okay? So make sure it says metric here, and the one that you want to start is a standard, right here, standard MMIPT. So you click on that and you go create. And it should load. And look like this. So this is the standard drawing environment for Autodesk Inventor. Across the top is the ribbon. This thing's called the ribbon across the top. It has all the commands for you. Down here, this area down here is called the browser. It tells you what your commands, which commands you've executed most recently. This is the main drawing area. Over here in the upper left is called the view cube. Okay, and we'll talk more about that shortly. And then there's some zooming options down the right hand. Is that right hand? Yeah, right hand side over here. So up in the upper right is the view cube. I think I said left before. On the left hand side here is the browser. Okay. Right now my part's called part 1. So the first thing I want to do is I want to save it. So I go to the File menu and I go Save As. And this is going to bring me to my documents. First thing I want you to do is in your documents on the computer, you're going to right-click anywhere over on this side. You're going to right-click and you're going to go New, Folder, and you're going to call it Autodesk, or your last name, Autodesk. So in my case, it's going to be McDonough _ Autodesk. Okay? And you're going to click on that and it'll open up. When it opens up, you're going to create another folder in here and you're just going to call that Inventor. Okay? And double click on that one and then you call your part your last name _ first Firstpart. First part. And then you're going to click save. And then you'll notice up here in your drawing, it's now changed this to your last name underscore first part. Okay? I'm going to stop there. And I'd like you to go ahead back to your computers and do that. Put it down, put it away. Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention up here for the next step. So once you have this and you've saved your file, it should say your last name underscore first part down at the bottom here. When you're an inventor, everything starts just like you do when you're using the design process. Everything starts with a sketch. So the command for starting a sketch is this little uh, box at the top with the plus sign. If you hover over top of any of the tool icons, it tells you what it does and it explains how. So you start with a sketch and it will bring up these drawing planes on your main viewer. So these are all the different surfaces you can draw on. And if you look at your cursor turns into this little pen with a sheet of paper. So it's asking you, what surface do you want to draw on? In this class, my intent would be for you to draw on the XY plane all the time. And that's this one here. Okay? Inventor and most of the drawing packages that we're going to use work on a coordinate system. In math, you've learned about the Cartesian plane, right? X and Y. It's the same thing. It uses coordinates to calculate how to draw something. So we want to draw on the X and Y plane. That means the Z, or the 3D aspect of this, is out towards you. Okay? And you can see that if you look at the icon down here in the lower corner. You have X and Y, and Z is towards you. Okay? So when I click on the X and Y plane, what it's going to do is it rotates your view so that the Z is pointing directly at you. And you can see that down here in the icon because the blue dot is pointing at you, X is to the right, Y is to the top. Once you've started your sketch, you can use all these drawing tools up here to create items. The first thing I want you to create is a simple cube. So you use the rectangle tool, you click on the little down arrow, and it gives you a number of different options. We're going to click on 2-point rectangle right here. Okay? So 2-point rectangle, and I'm going to pick the 0, 0 point as the center of my cube. So I click on there and I let go of my mouse button. I drag out to any size doesn't matter right now, to any size, and then you click on the mouse button again to drop it. It gives you a standard cube. The next thing you want to do is, right now I'm still in the draw rectangle command because you can see the little hashtag as my icon and the yellow dot in the middle. If I right click, I get a pop-up menu. I right click and I go OK. And it takes me out of the command, and my icon or my cursor goes back to just the standard arrow. So right now I don't know how big this is. I want a cube that is 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters. So how do I set that? Well, I use the dimension command up here. I click on dimension once, and then I come out and I click on the line. I don't click out here in the space. I don't click on the inside of the space. I click on the line. When you hover over the line, you'll notice it changes the color to green. Click on the line once, let go of your mouse button, drag out a little bit, click again to drop the dimension, and then you simply type in the dimension you want. So I want 100. And then you click the green check mark. And you'll notice that it went super big. So there's still the center here, but I can't see it, so it's too big to fit on my screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to use my zoom command over here, right? I'm going to drop down on my zoom command and I'm going to go zoom all. Oop, there we go. Sorry, click on the icon. So you make sure that it's set to zoom all with the little check mark here, and then click on the icon to zoom all. Now you can see my entire drawing. The other thing you could do is on the wheel mouse. So your mouse wheel, mouse wheel, if you pull back or push forward on your mouse wheel, it zooms in and out. Okay? So zoom out so you can see it. Then click on dimension, or I'm still in the dimension. I'm going to give it a dimension the other direction as well. And I'm going to type in 100. Okay? You'll notice that now my drawing or my sketch is all black lines. That means it's fully defined right now. Once you have your sketch fully defined by dimensioning everything, you want to exit sketch. So you exit the sketch and it'll zoom out to this. So again, I'm zoomed in way too far. I can use my mouse wheel and zoom out. Or if I'm zoomed in too far, there's this little home button up by the view cube right here. If I click on the home button, it'll zoom out so I can see the whole thing, right? That's a couple of different options. You also notice that it's gone into a three-dimensional view, right? I still only have a 2D drawing, so I need to make this 3 dimensions. How do I make this 3 dimensions? I use the extrude command. So I click on extrude, and you'll notice that it'll highlight, and it gives you a preview of what it looks like. So there's a bunch of different options here, but initially all you want to change is the distance A from 10 millimeters to 100. Oops, I didn't click on there. So you click on here, and you go 100, and it gives you a preview, okay? And then click OK, and now I have a cube that's 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters. If I click on the little house, it will recenter it in the middle of my screen. Any questions about that? Go back to your computers and go ahead and try that. Okay, so the next step is I want to cut a circular hole in my cube. It could be a circular hole, it could be a square hole. Now, you would think you'd want to use the hole command, but unfortunately, in this case, I don't want you to do that. I want to show you a different way of doing it. So, like I said before, everything starts with a sketch. So I'm going to go back up to sketch, and I'm going to click once, and it's going to think for a second. There we go. And now it's asking me, what surface do I want to draw on? And it actually says it in plain words. If you look down here, select plane to create sketch or an existing sketch to edit. So the plane I want to draw on is going to be this top plane of the cube that I already created. So I click on that top plane, and you'll notice that it rotates around so it's facing me, okay, which is good. I then go to I'm going to create a round hole. If I wanted to create a square hole, I use rectangle. If I wanted to create a round hole, I use circle. So I'm going to click on the down circle, and I'm going to use a center point circle, which is here. And I'm going to click, if I hover over my part, you'll see that it kind of goes to the center, right? But it won't go to the center all the way. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to drag out. It's a single click. You click once, let go of the mouse button, click again to drop it. Now I just dropped it any random size, but I want to make, say, a 30 millimeter hole. So now I go up to dimension. Oh, sorry, forgot one step. I'm still in the circle command, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to click OK to get out of that. Then I'm going to go dimension, and I'm going to click on the outside of the circle, and it turns green, and I'm going to drag it out here. So right now it's 48 millimeters. I want it to be 30 millimeters. I type in 30, click OK, and there's my hole. Or there's my circle. I want to center this in my cube. So I use the dimension command some more, but instead of clicking on the outside of the circle, I'm going to click on the center, and then I'm going to go to one of the edges. And it's going to create this. It's going to create a dimension. Now, half of 100 is 50, right? So to center this, I need to have it 50 millimeters in each direction. So that is correct, although I can't see it, so we're going to have to drag this out of the way. So that's in that direction. I'm going to go back to the center of the circle again, and I'm going to go to the upper edge here, and I'm going to drag it out this way. That is not correct, so I'm going to type it in as 50. And you see that it moved. And you see that it's turned black, so it's fully defined, right? So I now finish my sketch, right? And I have my circle sitting on the top of my cube. I use the extrude command again, and you'll notice that it highlights, and it wants to go in that direction. So I can change the direction by clicking here, and it goes the other direction. I can specify, if I didn't want it to go all the way through, I can specify a distance, right? If I want it to go all the way through, I can click through all, or you can click to the next plane, to the next object. There's a whole bunch of options here. And you also notice that now, instead of being a joining or an additional part, I'm now cutting the hole. So I'm going to go cut, make sure that's clicked, and I'm going to go through all. And what it's going to do is it's going to go all the way through the part. And then I click OK. And now, if I grab my view cube up here, so if I click on my view cube, I can rotate it around, and there's the hole. Okay? So say I have my 30 millimeter hole here, but I don't like 30 millimeters. I want it to be 50. Instead of going back and redrawing this, I go over to my browser, and you'll notice that I have extrusion 1, and if I click on it, it shows me the cube. If I click on extrusion 2, it shows me the hole. So if I click on the little plus sign here, and I go to my sketch, I right-click on this, or I click and then right-click, and I go edit sketch, which is this one. I can now change the sketch. So this 30 millimeters, which is the diameter, I can double click on it, and I can change that to 50, and it updates. And then I go finish sketch, and it automatically updates the hole. Now, you can understand, or you just have a brief glimpse of the power of this. So say this cube was in a big, it was part of the space shuttle. I was making a single part for the space shuttle. If I go into that single part, and if that part happens 100 times in the construction of the space shuttle, I update it once on the main master part, and it'll update every 100 parts in the assembly. Pretty cool, eh? So instead of having to rechange things over and over and over again, you update it once and it updates everything. Now that's really good in some cases, but say you just wanted one of those instances to be changed. You can change all of them globally, and it could have a great effect on other things. So you have to gauge that value when you're designing things, okay? So go ahead and try making a hole in your part.